Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Grace is free, but it isn't cheap. That's one of the most important insights made in Dietrich Bonhoeffer's book, The Cost of Discipleship. One of the things that means is that while God's grace to us is God's free gift to us, we should not take it for granted and presume we are entitled to it. Grace is free, but it is very costly to God. It costs God the life of God's Son, Jesus. Here in the last week of April, I'm highlighting some of the people we remember and commemorate during the month of April. We remember these people for the bold and strong witness of their faith, and the idea is that their lives will inspire our own bold witness of faith. Today we are going to consider one of the greatest theologians of the 20th century, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer grew up in the university circles of Berlin, where his father Karl was a professor of psychiatry and neurology. He studied at the University of Berlin in Tübingen from 1923 to 1927. His doctoral thesis was published in 1930. After graduation, he served as the assistant pastor of a German-speaking congregation in Barcelona, and then spent a year as an exchange student at Union Seminary in New York City. After that, he returned to Germany in 1931 to lecture in systematic theology at the University of Berlin. From the first days of the Nazi accession to power in 1933, Bonhoeffer was involved in protests against the regime, especially its anti-Semitism. Even while pastoring two small churches in London, he was a leading spokesman for the Confessing Church, the center of Protestant resistance to the Nazis. In 1935, Bonhoeffer was appointed to organize and head a new seminary, which continued in disguised form until 1940. Out of his struggle also came his best-known book, The Cost of Discipleship, which attacked the notion of cheap grace, an unlimited offer of forgiveness that masked moral laxity. Bonhoeffer's own involvement became increasingly political after 1939, when his brother-in-law introduced him to a group seeking Hitler's overthrow. In 1939, Bonhoeffer considered refuge in the United States, but returned to Germany, where he was able to continue his resistance as an employee of the Military Intelligence Department, which was a center of resistance. In May of 1942, he flew to Sweden to meet Bishop Bell and convey through him to the British government proposals for a negotiated peace. The Allies rejected the offer and insisted upon unconditional surrender. Bonhoeffer was arrested April 5, 1943, and imprisoned in Berlin. He had just announced his engagement to be married. After an attempt on Hitler's life failed on April 9, 1944, documents were discovered linking Bonhoeffer to the conspiracy. He was taken to Buchenwald concentration camp, then to Schöneberg prison. On Sunday, April 8, 1945, just as he concluded a worship service in a school building in Schöneberg in the Bavarian forest, two men came with the chilling summons, "Prisoner Bonhoeffer, come with us." As he left, he said to Payne Best, an English prisoner who described the event, "This is the end. For me, the beginning of life." Bonhoeffer was hanged the next day, April 9, 1945, at the express order of Hitler, as the Allied forces approached Berlin. Hitler ordered that Bonhoeffer would die before he himself did. Bonhoeffer's resistance to the Nazis was rooted clearly in his Christian commitment. There is in Bonhoeffer's life a remarkable unity of faith, prayer, writing, and action. The pacifist theologian came to accept the guilt of plotting the death of Hitler because he was convinced that not to do so would be a greater evil. Discipleship was to be had only at great cost. If you'd like to read some Bonhoeffer that you will find accessible and understandable, find his book, Letters and Papers from Prison. In this book you will find letters Bonhoeffer wrote to friends, including stories of his time in the Nazi prison. For example, he describes Advent as similar to being in a cell. One is only released from outside action. In the same way, we are trapped in our sin and guilt and only released through the outside action of God in sending Jesus at Christmas. Another powerful part is his most famous poem, written while in prison and facing fears and doubts, and times of faith and profound reliance on God. It is called, Who Am I? Who am I? They often tell me I would step from my cell's confinement calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country house. Who am I? They often tell me I would talk to my warders freely and friendly and clearly, as though it were mine to command. Who am I? They also tell me I would bear the days of misfortune equably, smilingly, proudly, like one accustomed to win. Am I then really all that which other men tell me of? Or am I only what I know of myself, restless and longing and sick, like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness, for neighborliness, trembling with anger at despotism and petty humiliation, tossing in expectation of great events, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary and empty at praying and thinking, at making faint, and ready to say farewell to it all. Who am I? This or the other? Am I one person today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once? A hypocrite before others and before myself a contemptibly woebegone weakling? Or is something within me still like a beaten army, fleeing in disorder from victory already achieved? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God, I am thine. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.